Ethan sat alone in his small research station on the edge of a quiet, dusty planet. The stars shone brightly through the big window, but the cold outside made the silence feel heavier. He had been working here for months, studying the strange. Signals that came from deep space. This place was far from Earth and no one else lived nearby, just Ethan and his machines. His days were full of data and numbers, but his nights were quiet. Sometimes too quiet. He missed people, but he liked the peace too. Suddenly, the calm night was broken by a loud noise. Ethan looked up, his heart pounding. Outside, a bright light flashed across the sky, followed by a fiery crash. Something had fallen nearby. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed his coat and ran outside. The cold wind hit his face as he ran toward the smoke and fire. There, in the dust, lay a strange figure. It was a woman, but not like any woman Ethan had ever seen. She wore armor that shone like metal, but it was unlike any armor from Earth. Her skin was pale, almost silver, and her eyes were sharp and bright like stars. She looked hurt, breathing hard. Her long dark hair was tangled and dirty. Ethan didn't know what to do. His first thought was fear. Was she dangerous? Then he saw her wince in pain. He decided to help. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked softly, kneeling beside her. The alien opened her eyes wider and looked at him with a mix of anger and surprise. "I was sent to kill you," she said in a strong voice, but it sounded tired. Ethan froze. "Kill me? Why?" The alien didn't answer right away. Instead, she tried to sit up but failed. Ethan helped her gently. "I am Kayla," she said, "a warrior from a far place. My mission was to end your life because you hold secrets dangerous to my people." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't think his research was that important. But Kayla looked serious, and he believed her. "Why did your ship crash here?" Ethan asked. Kayla looked to the sky, her eyes distant. "Our ship was attacked. I escaped alone. Now I am weak." Ethan nodded and helped her inside the station. The warmth inside was a relief for both of them. He gave her water and bandaged her wounds. Kayla watched him closely but did not try to stop him. She was silent for a while, and then she spoke again. "You should be afraid," she said quietly. "I am a warrior trained to kill." Ethan smiled slightly. "Maybe. But right now you need help, and I will help you." Kayla's eyes softened for a moment, but then she looked away. Ethan studied her carefully. Despite her fierce words, there was something human about her. Maybe it was the pain or the loneliness in her eyes. That night, Ethan did not sleep much. He kept checking on Kayla. She was breathing steadily, but her injuries were serious. The morning, Kayla woke and sat up. She looked stronger but still tense. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. "Because no one deserves to die without a chance," Ethan replied. "Even if they came to kill me." Kayla's face changed. It was the first sign of something like respect. Outside, the planet's sun rose, casting a golden light over the desert. The day was quiet again, but Ethan knew things had changed forever. He and Kayla were now connected by something strange and new. Later, Kayla told Ethan about her people, the empire she served, and the power they wanted to control. She said Ethan's research had something important that could stop them. Ethan felt the weight of her words. He never thought his work would be part of a battle between worlds. Despite their differences, they talked long into the day. Ethan learned about Kayla's world, a place of warriors and honor, where strength was everything. Kayla learned about Earth and humanity, its hopes, fears, and dreams. The more they talked, the more Ethan understood Kayla was not just a killer. She was a person with fears and hopes like him, but danger was still near. Kayla warned Ethan that her enemies were hunting them both. The crash had not gone unnoticed. Ethan looked at the stars again, feeling a mix of fear and determination. We'll face this together, he said firmly. Kayla nodded, a small smile touching her lips. For the first time, Ethan saw a warrior who was tired of fighting alone. As night fell, Kayla lay down on a small cot in the station. Ethan watched her, thinking about the strange journey ahead. The alien warrior who came to kill him now slept. Beside him, not as an enemy, but as someone he might one day trust. Outside, the stars kept shining, and a new story was beginning. One of hope, courage, and unexpected friendship. The next morning, Ethan woke early. The sun was still low, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. Outside, the quiet desert seemed peaceful, but inside the small research station, tension hung in the air. Kayla sat by the window, her silver eyes scanning the horizon. She was alert, no longer the injured warrior from the night before. Ethan poured 2 cups of tea and handed one to Kayla. She accepted it quietly, her eyes never leaving the window. "We don't have much time," she said finally, breaking the silence. Ethan nodded. "Your enemies, are they coming here?" Kayla's gaze sharpened. "Yes. They will not stop until they find us. They want to finish their mission. And you." Ethan took a deep breath. He was just a scientist, not a fighter. But now, danger was close, and he had to act. "We need to prepare," Ethan said. "Can you fight now?" Kayla stood up, her strong figure steady and powerful. "I am a warrior. Even injured, I can fight. But I cannot face them alone." Ethan looked at her. "Then we must work together." Kayla's eyes met his. A human and an alien warrior working together? It is not easy to trust. Ethan smiled. Nothing worth doing is easy. They spent the morning checking the station's defenses. Ethan showed Kayla the security cameras, the locked doors, and the emergency supplies. Kayla tested the weapons Ethan had. Mostly tools for research, not for battle. "We will need better weapons," Kayla said, her voice firm. Ethan nodded. "I know. There is a small supply depot 2 miles away. It has basic arms and tools. We can get them." Kayla studied him. "I will come with you." They set out together across the dusty land, moving fast but careful. The sun climbed higher and the heat pressed down, but they did not speak much. Both were focused on the task. When they reached the depot, Ethan unlocked the door with a code. Inside were crates of weapons, armor, and supplies. Kayla's eyes lit up. "This will help," she said, opening a box with compact energy pistols. Ethan grabbed some extra batteries and medical kits. They prepared quickly, knowing danger could arrive at any moment. Suddenly, a strange noise came from outside, a low hum like a ship's engine. Kayla's hand went to her weapon immediately. "They are here." Ethan felt his heart race. They moved back toward the station carrying the weapons. As they neared, a group of dark figures appeared on the horizon. They were Kayla's enemies. Warriors dressed in black armor, moving fast and silent. "We must hide," Kayla said, leading Ethan to a small cave near the station. Inside, they crouched in the shadows, watching the enemy soldiers spread out. Ethan's mind raced. He was scared, but he trusted Kayla's calm. "They will search everywhere," Kayla said. "We cannot stay here long." Ethan looked at Kayla. "What can we do?" Kayla thought for a moment. "We fight. Together." Ethan's eyes widened. "Fight. But I'm not a warrior." Kayla smiled slightly. "You have strength in your mind. I have strength in my body. Together, we are stronger. As the enemy." Soldiers closed in. Ethan and Kayla prepared to defend their small home. The first soldier entered the station. Kayla was ready, firing her pistol with precision. Ethan watched, amazed at her skill. Suddenly, the enemy raised an alarm. More soldiers rushed in. Kayla shouted, "Stay close, protect me!" Ethan grabbed a tool from the wall, ready to help. It wasn't a weapon, but he was brave. They fought side by side. Kayla with her weapons, Ethan using his quick thinking and small tools to slow the attackers. One enemy soldier came close to Ethan. Without fear, Ethan pushed him away and shut a heavy door between them. Kayla moved quickly to protect Ethan. Together they made a strong team. After a tense fight, the enemy soldiers retreated, disappearing into the desert. Kayla lowered her weapon and breathed hard. We survived. Ethan smiled, feeling proud. Because we worked together. They left the cave and returned to the station. Both were tired but alive. That night, around a small fire, they talked more deeply. Kayla explained her people's empire. They were powerful but ruled with fear. She did not always agree with their ways, but was bound by duty. Ethan shared stories about Earth, about humans' hopes for peace, even when the world seemed dangerous. They found they were different, but not so different after all. Kayla looked at Ethan and said, "You are brave. You have heart." Ethan looked back and said, "And you have honor, even when your mission was to kill me." They laughed softly, breaking the last walls between them, but both knew the danger was not over. Kayla said, "Tomorrow we must leave this planet. The Empire's forces will come again." Ethan nodded. "Then we will face whatever comes, together." As they prepared for sleep, Kayla looked at Ethan with a new trust. The alien warrior who once came to kill him was no longer an enemy. Now she was his ally, and maybe something more. The desert sky was dark, filled with countless stars that twinkled like tiny diamonds. Ethan and Kayla sat by a small campfire outside the research station. The cold night air was sharp, but the fire's warmth kept them close. They both were, quiet for a moment, lost in their own thoughts. Kayla looked at Ethan carefully. "You are not like I thought." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What did you think?" "I thought humans were weak, that they would run or hide when danger came. But you face it. You fight with your mind and your heart." Ethan smiled softly. "We are not perfect, but we try." Kayla's silver eyes shone with a strange light. "I was raised to believe strength was only in the body, that warriors must be strong and fearless. But you have a different kind of strength." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He realized Kayla was opening up to him, sharing something she never had before. "Tell me more about your people," Ethan asked gently. Kayla sighed and looked to the stars. "My people come from a great empire called the Varkath. We are proud and strong. Our world is harsh, and only the best survive. Warriors are respected above all. But not all warriors are the same," Ethan said. "No," Kayla agreed. "There are those who follow orders without question. And then there are those who question. I am one who questions." Ethan nodded. "I think questioning is important. It helps us grow." Kayla smiled faintly. "You are wise for a human." They sat in silence again, feeling a connection that crossed worlds. Suddenly, Kayla's eyes narrowed. "We are not safe here. The enemy forces will come soon." Ethan stood and looked out at the dark desert. "We need a plan." Kayla moved closer. "There is a place I know, a hidden cave far from here. It is safe. We can rest there and plan." Ethan agreed, and together they prepared to leave at dawn. The next morning, they traveled across the rocky land. Kayla moved with grace and strength, leading the way. Ethan followed, carrying supplies and weapons. As they walked, Ethan asked, "What made you question your people?" Kayla looked at him, thoughtful. "I saw things I could not accept. The Empire is not as noble as it seems. They use fear and control to keep power. I was sent to kill you because you have knowledge that could stop them. But I do not want to be part of their cruelty." Ethan listened carefully. "It is brave to stand against your own people." Kayla nodded. It is dangerous, but I must do what is right. After hours of walking, they reached the hidden cave. It was a small opening in a cliff, almost invisible. Inside, the cave was cool and dark. They set up a small camp and rested. That night, Kayla shared more stories about her past. She spoke of battles, of loss, and of hope for a better future. Ethan told her about Earth's history, the struggles humans faced and how they learned to work together. They found comfort in each other's stories, like two souls from different worlds finding a bridge. Days passed. The hidden cave gave them safety but also time to think. Ethan worked on his research, trying to understand why his knowledge was so important to the Varkath Empire. Kayla kept watch, training Ethan in basic combat and survival skills. There, friendship grew stronger. One evening, Ethan asked, "Kayla, what will happen if we fail?" Kayla looked at him seriously. "Then many will suffer. But if we succeed, maybe peace can come between our peoples." Ethan nodded. "Then we must try. Together." Kayla smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I am glad you are with me." Ethan smiled back. "Me too." Suddenly, a distant sound broke the quiet. A low rumble, like engines in the distance. Kayla's face tightened. "They are coming." Ethan stood quickly. "We need to prepare." Together they gathered their weapons and readied themselves. The enemy was near. But this time, Ethan and Kayla would face them not as strangers, but as partners. The battle ahead would test their strength, their trust, and their hope. But no matter what happened, they would face it side by side. The sun was setting beyond the rocky cliffs, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. Ethan and Kayla stood at the mouth of their hidden cave, their weapons ready. The distant rumble of engines grew louder, echoing across the desert. Their enemies were coming, fast and fierce. Kayla's silver eyes scanned the horizon. "They are more than just soldiers," she said. "They are hunters, trained to kill without mercy." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'm ready," he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. Kayla placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "We fight together. Trust me." The first wave of enemy fighters appeared, moving swiftly in their black armor, their weapons glowing with energy. They split into groups, surrounding the cave. Kayla moved like a shadow, swift and deadly. She fired precise shots, taking down two attackers before they could reach her. Ethan watched in awe but stayed close, his pulse quickening. When a soldier charged toward him, Ethan raised a small weapon Kayla had given him, a stun blaster. He fired. The enemy fell, stunned but alive. Kayla smiled briefly. "Good, you are learning." But the battle was far from over. A second group of enemies appeared behind them, forcing Ethan and Kayla to fight on two fronts. Kayla shouted orders, guiding Ethan to move with purpose. As they fought side by side, Ethan's fear began to fade. His mind sharpened and his body moved with more confidence. Suddenly, an enemy warrior broke through their line and aimed at Kayla. Without thinking, Ethan threw himself in front of her, taking a hit. Pain exploded in his side, and he fell to the ground. Kayla's heart raced. She rushed to him, firing at the attacker until the enemy fell back. Ethan gritted his teeth but looked up at Kayla. "I'm okay," he said, though his face was pale. Kayla's voice softened. "You risked yourself for me." Ethan managed a weak smile. "Because you risked yourself for me." The battle continued, brutal and intense. Kayla's skills were unmatched, but Ethan's courage was unexpected. Together, they pushed the enemy back, forcing them to retreat. When the dust settled, the desert was silent once more. Kayla helped Ethan to his feet. "You fought well." Ethan looked around, feeling exhausted but proud. "We fought well, together." As they made their way back to the cave, Kayla's mind was heavy. She had always believed strength came from winning battles and following orders. But now, she understood something deeper. Strength was also in trust, in letting someone stand beside you, even when the world was against you. That night, as Ethan rested, Kayla sat by the fire, thinking about the battle and her own heart. She realized she cared for Ethan, not just as an ally, but as someone precious. But doubt crept in. Could she leave her past behind? Could she trust a human fully? Ethan woke and saw Kayla's troubled face. "What is wrong?" he asked gently. Kayla hesitated, then said, "I am a warrior trained to kill. But now, I want something more. Something better." Ethan smiled softly. "We can build that better future. Together." Kayla looked at him and nodded, feeling hope. For the first time in a long while, outside the stars shone brightly, watching over two unlikely friends bound by battle, trust, and the hope for. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert horizon, casting a soft golden light over the rocky landscape. Ethan and Kayla sat outside their hidden cave, sharing a simple meal. The quiet was a sharp contrast to the battles they had faced, but both knew that peace was fragile. Kayla looked at Ethan, her silver eyes thoughtful. "We cannot stay here forever," she said. "The Empire will keep searching." Ethan nodded. "Then we need a plan to stop them and protect both our worlds." Kayla smiled faintly. "You think like a true warrior now." Ethan laughed, softly. "Maybe I learned from the best." Their bond had grown deeper in recent days. They had fought together, shared stories, and found hope where none seemed possible. Kayla stood and stretched. "I want to show you something." Curious, Ethan followed as Kayla led him through a narrow path behind the cave. After a short walk, they reached a small valley filled with strange plants glowing faintly in the morning light. "This is my home planet's seed," Kayla explained. "I brought it with me to remind me of where I come from and what I fight for." Ethan knelt and touched the glowing plants carefully. "It's beautiful. Life can be so strong, even in the harshest places." Kayla nodded. "Life is worth fighting for, not just survival, but peace." They sat together quietly, the weight of their mission pressing on their minds. Suddenly, a soft beep from Ethan's wrist device broke the silence. "It's a message," Ethan said, checking the screen. "From Earth Command. They know about the Empire and want to help." Kayla's eyes widened. "Help? From humans?" Ethan smiled. "Yes, they want peace too. Maybe it's time to bring our worlds together." Kayla's heart filled with hope, but also fear. "Do you trust them?" she asked. Ethan looked at her steadily. "I trust that we can build a better future, if we work together." Kayla nodded, feeling strength in his words. That night they sat by the fire, planning their next move. Ethan worked on sending messages to Earth Command, while Kayla prepared for the challenges ahead. But trust was not easy. Kayla still feared betrayal from her own people, and Ethan worried about the dangers they faced. As they talked, Kayla reached out and took Ethan's hand. "Whatever comes," she said softly, "I am by your side." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "And I'm by yours." Their hands stayed clasped, a silent promise between two souls from different worlds. Days passed, and the alliance between them grew stronger. They trained together, learning from each other's strengths and weaknesses. Kayla taught Ethan how to move silently and fight with precision. Ethan shared knowledge of technology and strategy. One evening, as they watched the stars, Ethan asked, "What do you see when you look at the future?" Kayla smiled, her eyes bright. "A world where humans and Varkath live without fear. Where warriors protect, not destroy." Ethan nodded. "I see that too." Their dream felt closer now, but danger was never far away. A sudden noise broke the quiet night, distant but growing louder. Kayla's eyes narrowed. They have found us again? Ethan stood ready. Then we fight! Together. The enemy forces appeared on the horizon, faster and larger than before. But this time, Ethan and Kayla were not alone. The message to Earth Command had worked. Soon, ships from Earth arrived, shining bright against the dark sky. Humans and Varkath. Warriors fought side by side, pushing back the Empire's forces. In the heat of battle, Kayla saw Ethan risking himself to save others. Ethan saw Kayla leading with courage and honor. When the last enemy fell, silence returned. Kayla looked at Ethan, her heart full. "We did it, together," Ethan smiled. "Yes, together." As the dawn broke, they stood side by side, ready to face the new world they would build. The alien warrior who once came to kill Ethan now stood with him as an equal, a partner in hope, trust, and love. The first light of dawn touched the desert, casting soft gold over the rocky land. Ethan and Kayla stood side by side outside the research station, watching the sun rise together. The battle was over, but their journey was just beginning. The air was still cool, and a gentle breeze moved through the tall grasses nearby. For the first time in many weeks, peace seemed possible. Kayla turned to Ethan, her silver eyes warm. "We have won a small victory today, but the Empire is still strong." Ethan nodded. "True, but now we have a chance to build something new. Between our peoples." Kayla smiled softly. "I never thought I would see this day, when a human and a Varakath could stand together as equals." Ethan reached out and took her hand gently. "We can be more than that, friends, partners, maybe even more." Kayla's cheeks flushed slightly, and she looked away for a moment. Then she met his gaze again, steady and sincere. "Together, we are stronger than any empire," she said. Their hands stayed joined as they walked back inside the station. The following days were busy with work and planning. Messages were sent to both Earth and Varkath leaders, sharing the news of their alliance and the hope for peace. Many were skeptical, but Ethan and Kayla remained determined. They traveled to nearby settlements, speaking to humans and Varkath alike, spreading the message of unity and trust. Slowly, others began to listen. One evening, as the stars filled the sky, Ethan and Kayla sat quietly on the station's roof. Kayla looked at the stars and then at Ethan. "Do you think our people can really change?" Ethan smiled. "Change is never easy, but it starts with people like us, willing to try." Kayla nodded thoughtfully. "I want to believe that." Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, a gift from Earth Command. "This will help us communicate and share knowledge. We can build a future where no one fears the other." Kayla took the device, her fingers brushing his. A future of hope. Weeks passed. The alliance between humans and Varkath grew stronger. Trade routes opened, and cultural exchanges began. Old fears slowly faded, but the greatest change was in Ethan and Kayla themselves. One night after a long day, Kayla sat beside Ethan on the station's couch. The fire flickered softly, casting warm light around them. Kayla rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. "I never imagined this. Peace. Friendship. Something more," she whispered. Ethan smiled and wrapped an arm around her. "Neither did I. But here we are." They sat in comfortable silence, hearts beating in quiet harmony. As sleep came, Kayla looked up at Ethan. "Thank you for saving me, for trusting me." Ethan kissed her forehead gently. "Thank you for choosing to stay." Kayla closed her eyes, finally feeling safe. The alien warrior who came to kill him now slept beside him, no longer a threat, but a promise of a new dawn. Outside, the stars shone bright, lighting the path for two souls from different worlds, bound by trust, hope, and love. The future was uncertain, but together they would face it, united.